Welcome back to my channel. My name's Rod Clark, former Australian Masters track athlete, previous coach to an Australian Olympic athlete, and just a guy with an interest in sports performance and all things health and fitness. Good morning all. Just a quick update, well, not really a quick update, just wanted to touch on a blog I wrote some time ago, and a dieting process or an eating process called keto. And I suppose one of the questions I had around keto was, does it really work? And I won't go into much detail about it. I really don't fully understand the science behind it. I have followed a few people that are pretty intelligent. Mark Sisson's a big keto guy. Dr. Peter Attia, A-T-T-I-A. He's got a great podcast. It does get super in-depth and super technical though. And there is another major researcher that I can't think of his name, but I will put a link in the description, because this guy is also a powerlifter and has fasted for up to 24 hours and powerlifted and broken his own, PBs. So he's a full keto guy. From my perspective though, does it work? I would say yes, it does. Does it work because of the fat burning process that your body going into that state of ketosis actually occurs? That part I'm not 100% sure, because I don't know enough about the science. Going into, and I never tested my ketone levels, I never did any blood tests and finger pricks and so forth, or breath work or urine, but there was definitely a feeling that once I was working with this diet, my body started to adapt and definitely felt different. And the one thing that I felt clearly over, well, two things that happened, but one thing I definitely felt clearly over anything else was my clarity of thought. I was really clear during the day. I'm typically a person that gets that afternoon slumps, and if I've been working out quite hard, I will even take a nap in the afternoons just to recharge, and it's 15 minutes for me and I'm brand new. Some people don't like to do it because they don't feel great afterwards, but for me, I can actually, lay down for 10 or 15 minutes and just wake up brand new and ready to go. And if I want to write or concentrate, I'll often do that just so I'm more focused. But with using the keto dieting method, I definitely found my concentration was much, much higher. And for me, I was eating very low carb. If I had any bread, and I love bread, I was only choosing those low carb wraps, and I think they've only got about 5 grams of carbs in them. I was pretty much not eating until midday every day. The only thing I would have between getting up, which I get up relatively early, around 6 every morning, would be coffee. And then I would have my first meal at 12 o'clock and my last meal at 8 p.m. every night. And that was consisting of, high fats, very low carb and protein. I did struggle to eat the required macro levels of fats. That was really difficult for me, just to try and get enough fat in my system. But I'd probably walk around, I don't know, I'm going to guess around 14% body fat, I'm assuming. And when I was living in Florida when I went full keto, and I went straight to 10% body fat. I was so lean, that probably a little bit too lean for me. I get a bit drawn in the face, so it's a kind of a nice problem to have, I suppose. As we get older, we do tend to hold more body fat, and I've been fortunate that my body responds to things quite quickly. But overall, I would say it definitely worked. Was it sustainable for me personally? No, only because of my weight levels dropped too much. And now that I've moved more back into an endurance-based training with riding and longer running, my running's not so long, but my riding's getting longer. I find I definitely need carbohydrates to keep some sort of weight on. So for me, I was just running so lean all the time. Interesting enough though, when I first started to ride a little bit longer, 45 minutes was a long ride for me, my body would actually crave carbohydrate so quickly that I'm riding more, and I'm, up to 2.5 hours I can get out and ride for. My body doesn't need as much of that carbohydrate, and it's actually sustained energy is increasing all the time. I can actually ride for longer periods of time without actually feeling terrible. So overall, definitely keto for me worked. I don't know enough around the science. As I said, there's plenty of guys out there that know a lot more than I do. Mark Sisson, he runs the website or the business Primal Eating or Primal something. I can put a link to him. Let me have a quick look. He writes a blog called Mark's Daily Apple, but Primal Lifestyle he's all about. And Dr. Peter Attian, he really did a great podcast on when he went keto. And I think he did either a marathon or a substantial, like 180 kilometre or mile ride. I can't recall what it was. Let's say call it 180 kilometres, 100 miles or 120 miles. Fully fasted for 24 hours prior. So by putting his body into ketosis and using the fat levels, the fat stores in his body for that energy. And he shows an amazing photo. He was a great long distance swimmer, and I think he's broken some channel records between Hawaiian Islands. Again, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's the case. He's a super smart guy. He talks about, he shows a photo of himself standing next to his wife when she was 3 or 4 months pregnant, and he's got a full belly, and he was doing, you know, ultra marathon stuff. And he was just saying for him, the amount of carbohydrate and food he was consuming, he was still carrying substantial stores of body fat. So he's been able to reduce that down and still, he believes, maintain his endurance and energy levels. So it definitely works. I think it's not for everybody, like most, you know, diets. If they're difficult to stick to, then I think it's way too difficult for most people. You know, you need to find an eating plan or an eating pattern that suits your lifestyle. And for most people, unless you're doing the keto diet for a particular reason, you know, for the clarity of thought, or your body doesn't react well to foods and so forth, I think balanced eating is still the best way. I've just watched a great documentary last night on health. It's a BBC documentary, which I'm going to, I'll post some information. It's around superfoods, you know, all this claim around superfoods in the last 10 or 15 years. I've never been personally a big believer in it. You know, what is a superfood? Somebody gave a name to it and called it a superfood. And there is one example of goji berries. I did do a bit of research and found there was some doctor, and I think he even owned a goji berry farm, that, you know, wrapped a whole heap of marketing around goji berries and pushed them out there, and they somehow became a superfood. And during this BBC documentary, they basically proved they've got no more vitamin C than a strawberry, although they're 3 times the price. As society, we believe it, and we just go off and start consuming them thinking they're so great. They did a test in this BBC documentary between goji berries and strawberries, and I think the goji berries like 4 times the price. And the strawberries, you know, they're known to have high vitamin C, and the strawberries end up having the equivalent vitamin C levels. They basically got a sample group, 2 different groups. They ingested both the goji berries and one group the strawberries, and then they tested their vitamin C levels over a set period of time. This is all done in a laboratory, and you can watch a documentary when I do more of a detailed video on it. And their vitamin C levels are basically identical. So, you know, it was really interesting. The lady doing the host of the show, she was showing what she would normally buy in terms of her superfood trolley, and what she could buy as a replacement, which was just, you know, still healthy food, but just normal food. And the results when they tested these foods were exactly the same. One total came to £6 in the UK, so, you know, $10 US, whatever it is, and the other one was 36. It was 6 times the price for these superfoods. You know, highly marketed, highly expensive foods. I think, you know, just good healthy eating and a balanced diet is what most of us need. And I am a believer that most people just overconsume. You know, our portions are way too big, and, you know, we need to find foods that make us, that fill us for longer, so we're not having that hungry, we're not getting hungry all the time and running back to the cupboard. Anyway, I just want to do a quick, you know, video. I'm trying to be consistent and put stuff out every week. I hope it's useful information. I'm never going to make them too long, I don't think. I am planning to do maybe an interview this week with somebody I used to coach. He still runs. He's 55. He's an incredible athlete. So I'm hoping to get him on a call and do a video and post that later in the week. So Anyway, there's my little rant on keto diets. My takeaway is that I do think they're worthwhile. I would definitely try them if you're into doing different things. But again, I go back to, for most people, it's probably not sustainable. You need to find good eating patterns, good healthy food that you can sustain. And yeah, anyway, that's all for now. Have a great day, and bye for now.